Sweet.
There we go. Here they come. Welcome, welcome, everybody.
Hello.
Nathan, I know you travel a lot. So I know sometimes you maybe are like, where am I today? Or what town am I waking up in to do a facility condition assessment? That's kind of how I feel on this 2-day conference. What session am I in right now?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
fortunately, I don't have to do it almost every week like you do, though. You're a pro.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is just keeping track of what time zone I'm in, and
Yeah.
then keeping track of where it is on my calendar. Because for a while there, I didn't change my laptop to automatically update, and yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I book things. I try to always book it in the right time zone, but yeah, it's fun time. So everybody's rolling in. Remember, a little housekeeping. Chat is where your questions come in, roll in. That's what we're monitoring. That's what we're doing. Watching that. And so as people roll in. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Nathan Parr. I am a facility stewardship specialist. Sorry, I had to remember my title. And with in hanging out and doing everything with this and actually running the show is Miss Casey Hild. Did I say it right? Hildner.
Hildner. Yep.
Hildner.
Hildner. Yeah.
I did it. And your title again, because customer stewardship.
Customer stewardship specialist. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Casey is the one, if you want to know about maybe an upgrade or changing or with the new tier trying to get something, that's who you need to reach out to.
Yeah.
She will help you evaluate where you're at and get you the right level to actually be the most efficient and the best steward.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. That's exactly right.
so take advantage of that, folks. I'm going to start just a little bit. So we're talking about advanced kind of admin stuff for work order and asset management. Real quick, this part of the platform has grown exponentially over the last several years, especially since I've joined the company, and I used it before I joined the company as an actual operations director. So the best thing and the best way to think, or the simplest way that I like to explain work order and asset management is this is the system you use to be able to track anything from request to completion. So you notice I said the word anything. So what falls under anything? Yes, I did. Matthew noticed. Yes, it's a different Scally cap. This is a single panel. But anything. So when you think of work order and asset management, don't limit yourself by saying, oh, it's just for plumbing, it's just for electrical, it's just for projects. Yes, it's for that, but it can also be for, say, new employee check-in, check-out. It can be for requests for the website. It can be for copies being made. Think about it. Anything that you want to track and have everybody on the same page from request to completion. That's what work order and asset management is for. There are certain aspects that are obviously more geared towards maintenance of a facility. Okay, so the maintenance team will use those, but it can be segregated out and it can be set up in such a way that everybody in the facility has the opportunity to take advantage of the efficiency afforded to you. So that's my initial just welcome. Expand your mind, open your minds to say, not how do I do X, but what can I improve in my operations using work order and asset management. That's kind of what today's about. And we're going to show you some tips and tricks, but understand this is the tip of the proverbial iceberg. And maybe we shouldn't use that because when we say that, that usually means we're crashing into it and drowning. No, this is the start of the journey. How about that? This is the start of a journey where you actually want to go. And it's not like chutes and ladders where you're randomly going to fall off. We're going to take you and we're here to help you. So this is the start of the journey. So Casey, I have waxed poetic and gone off completely topic.
Well,
hey, it's on you to bring us back.
if you wax poetic, I don't know what that means for waning. I don't know. I hope Yeah, work order management is what I like to call your no excuses solution. This removes all the excuses and empowers your staff. It's used for so much more than maintenance. Your communications team can use it. Your human resources team can use it for, tracking tasks. It's amazing. So you can think outside the box and use this module for lots and lots. We love looking at all the different ways the different levers can be pulled in this module. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a little orientation of the dashboard, just so you can know a couple little things. So admin dashboard, this is an admin training. We looked at user training yesterday, or user basic user views and permissions yesterday. I called it training. I train new customers all the time. But it's a little bit different of a view. If you have event scheduler already, you've not seen work order management already, what you're seeing is very similar. The construction of it's the same. Your navigational menu is always going to live on the left for you. The options are going to look a little bit different though. Same thing with your command center and your dashboard. You're going to have some different options that are laid out to you. If you were with us yesterday and you saw a user view, you may see more dashboard status headers today than you saw yesterday. The gray ones are always going to be specific to admins. That's going to let you know when work needs attention. If new work orders come in and they need to be assigned out, you might want to put those right at the top of your dashboard. You're going to see those in new work orders. You're going to be able to see that priority code, the description of the work that needs to be complete, and you're going to be able to have some information. You're going to tell if it came in from one of those public forms. Kim and I just had a session on public work order request forms a while ago. If I hover over that little envelope in that work order, that's going to let me know it was submitted using a public form. And then you're going to be able to assign it. 3 ways to assign a work order, right? One's to an internal user. That's going to be who performs the work. One's to a group of people. If you don't care who does the work, you just want someone to take responsibility of that work order and take ownership of it. And then you have your external vendor set up. If you want to allow an external vendor to have their own portal to manage work, accept work, mark it complete, you can do that. So we love that feature. A lot of people use the external vendor. Maybe they don't assign them straight to a vendor for that vendor to manage, but maybe they stop at just the assignment so they can track it and know which vendors are covering it. So a couple options there. Again, there's no limits. You can arrange your account the way you need to help you with the most efficiency. Let's see here, your dashboard settings. You have the ability to edit those just like you do in Event Scheduler. You can move these status headers around, collapse the ones you don't need to see all the time, make it look kind of like this. And then you can expand what you do need to see. As an admin, I always like to tell people you may see work orders. You may see the same work order in several different places on your dashboard. You might be the requester of the work order. You might be the person performing the work. Maybe you just need to put it through the system. Maybe, it's living in there and it has tasks that are also assigned to you. So you may see the same work order in multiple places. Don't panic if that is you. It just means that you've got your hands on that work order a lot. And then let's see here. I think that's about it for this part. Nathan, I'm going to kick it over to you to actually look. What does it look like for the work order journey? I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Whoops, hit Zoom there. So sorry. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let you talk a little bit about the work order journey. You're on mute, bud.
Yeah, I was going to say that you're on mute, and we're going to turn on a work order for that. All right, so kind of ties into even Nathan, your question on here, and see how many service vendors have gotten set up with eSPACE. That's a great question, because keep in mind, you can add external vendors to this and make them one of your people that individuals that you assign a work order. And with routing rules and certain things you can set up, you can have it automatically go to them if that's the relationship you have. But when we're talking about journey of a work order, obviously it starts with the initiation. How do people turn in a work order? If their staff, my opinion, and this is what I always suggest, is if they're qualified and trusted enough to be on staff, they should have a login. They should be able to see eSPACE as a user, because there's no benefit to hoarding information or keeping people from seeing the information. In fact, the more people have an overview of what's going on, to include the maintenance workload, the better I think they are. You can also do a work order request, kind of a form, a link, which is a form you can set up, and you can do QR codes and do a text to work order or email to work order. You can do email routing work orders and do specific ones, like you could have IT support at yourchurchname.org that would automatically go to the IT department if someone emailed them a work order. So that's the first part, is expand the ability for people to turn in work orders. Now, I know the first thing pushback I get is, but that means everybody's going to turn in a work order. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. But what you want is you want people to be trained to turn in work orders via the system, not turn in work orders via word of mouth or stopping you in the hallway or writing a note and putting it on your door. You want them to use the system and break people of the habit of stopping you randomly to get some work done, because you'll never get it done. You'll forget. And this just trains them to do that. So expand how people can turn in the work order. Once it's there, it's how is it assigned? As mentioned earlier, you can set up certain service categories. And remember, everything, and I'm using my hands when I talk. It makes no sense unless I'm up here, and then it just looks weird. But you can do everything flows from service categories, and you can have people automatically assigned to perform a work order if it's a specific service category, or you as the administrator can assign your team based on who you want to perform the work. And Casey showed the departments. There we go. I can speak. Departments, and keep in mind, when I train and I talk about departments, I always say departments is where work orders go to die, because that's based on my experience of you're understaffed, you're under budgeted, or underfunded, and you don't have enough time. So if you're not told specifically you need to do something, most folks are not going to go in and grab an additional work order to do. But you can still use departments to create, especially things like project planning, future projects and things, where you can literally plan for and have a single spot. And it's kind of, think project management light, but have a single spot that everybody can have access to and see, because you can use the conversation tabs, you can upload items to the work order. So again, once we assign it to an either individual or an external vendor, they work the work order. And there's different settings within that work order, like accepted and work started, or on hold. So that is a great feature, because most parts, if you've got to order it, it's going to take some time. If we put it on hold, the system's going to notify the requester that the work order is on hold, and it will actually you can give the reason. So communication and having everybody understand everything and setting the expectation is the way to become way more efficient and to encourage people to use the system. The system is reminding them you can have a conversation within it. That way they know what's going on, you know what's going on, and there's no more miscommunication. And that's one of the things, and I mentioned it yesterday, I think it was, we've done some research, and I've been doing some research and looking at the actual cost of poor communication, miscommunication within our industry. And right now, the average that I've been able to come up with is about $22 per person per hour. So if you have an event or a work order that you're not tracking, and you've got to go track people down and find information, every person that's involved in tracking that and getting that information, that's costing your church, your facility, $22 per person per hour that you're having to do that. So keep that in mind. That's why we use the system. That's why we encourage to do it. And that's the journey of the work order. Again, request, I got to put my hand in, request to completion. We're tracking it. We're keeping that information in the loop. We're putting down information like time and effort if we need to, and material cost. We're uploading invoices. So when you close a work order, that doesn't mean you can never see it again. You can always search the closed work orders and see what you did, what it cost, and what work was performed. So tying into that question that was asked, and Jamie, when we're talking about assigning and reviewing and things, what does that look like, Casey?
Yeah, I'm going to look at those. I like to call them automations. That's a word I've learned working on this team, Tom Metz. He is
There
the
you go.
king of automations, and love to see his work in progress and help us all out. But I love to carry that forward and show how automations can happen, and they can happen with routing rules and auto assignments and things like that. That statistic you shared, when we think about stewardship, $22 per hour per person per hour, that's really sobering. So that makes us want to really get communication tightened up. So love to use these tools for that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk about some of the technical aspects of what we've talked about. Now, yesterday in the session with Becca, I walked through the user side of a work order, and I walked through some of these components. And what I'd like to do is just go ahead and show you again some of the things that you can set specific settings for in your advanced settings. So when we talk about costs, okay, when you add equipment, you're going to be able to add equipment into your account, build an equipment and inventory registry. When you build those components in your account, they do become available for you to add to a work order. What that does is for equipment, it ties that work order to your equipment. You have a history of all the work orders performed on that piece of equipment. You can create a work order for any piece of equipment that you've added, or you can add the equipment to an existing work order. No matter the case, it's going to track that work order history right with that piece of equipment. So that's a really neat feature. Again, one of those automation tools, you can see it right there. You don't have to go digging through a file cabinet to see every time the auto scrubber was serviced. You can add inventory, your inventory registry. These are going to be consumables, cleaning supplies, filters, light bulbs, things like that, that you have an intake and usage of. You can add those to work orders. When you add those to work orders, they are automatically deducted from your inventory quantity. So you don't have to go in and make manual adjustments. You can, there's a way to do that, but adding them to a work order makes those manual or makes those automatic adjustments for you. Miscellaneous costs, like I mentioned, invoices, things like that. Time and labor. If you want to track time and labor, there's a couple different ways to do that. Manually, you can do it right here at add time and labor. But I'm also going to show you some ways that you can require technicians enter their time completed when they either complete tasks or finish work orders. For this work order, remember from yesterday, it was for cleaning and descaling the large coffee maker, the large commercial coffee maker. This task list is here. I'm going to show you how to construct those tasks in your task library so they are ready for you. Tim and Nathan talked a lot about work order tasks yesterday in their facility stewardship discussion and how they're helpful. Today, I'm going to show you how to do that in your library. Conversations tab, hugely important. Nathan touched on that a while ago of how you can communicate with people right within a work order. It becomes a part of that work order. It's a recorded history. I cannot tell you how many times people go looking back for answers why something happened and they don't know. Either emails got deleted, somebody's no longer on staff, whatever the case may be, that information or the critical piece of that information as to why something happened cannot be located. You can record it all as part of your work orders, okay? So some neat things we're going to look at. I'm going to jump down for this one into settings. And I'm going to jump down first into basic settings and just highlight some of the things that you can do to make your work order account even more efficient for you. When you have work order management, we give you a few priority codes to get you started. I think urgent, high, medium, low is what you're given. And then you can create some new ones. Now, I play with my account a lot and try to do different things to create different outcomes. So you might see some priority codes that look weird here. But the ones to concentrate on are mostly like these. Facilities will determine priority. I created one of those and added it to a public form. That's just for a very specific form. So we can know we can set the priority ourselves. Standard, high, urgent. Standard, low, urgent, high. You can rearrange these using the drag and drop. When you create a work order, urgent's the very first one that's at the top of that drop down list internally. If you want to move those around, so urgent's not the top one in the drop down, you can do that. You can also add some descriptors and some definitions, and you can color code your priorities. That's what's going to make the color show up on the dashboard with your priority codes when you do that.
I want to say quick comment. When you're training your individuals to turn in work orders, urgent is only, or whatever your top category is, or your top priority is. The only time that one should be used is if what they're requesting is preceded or immediately followed by a phone call.
Mhm.
If it's a top priority, it means everything else stops. And we need to address that because it has the potential to seriously impact operations.
Yeah.
Make sure you stress that in training because everybody's going to want to put high priority so they quote jump the line and get it done fast, but just be firm in your training. If you do urgent, then if it's not preceded or followed by a phone call, I don't believe you. It's
Mhm.
probably not urgent. Or if you do urgent and don't give me a call and it's because the toilet is overflowing and running into your office, there's some additional training we need to have.
Yep. Yep. I like to use urgent, Nathan, as this something's on fire.
Yeah.
It better be on fire to use that one.
Yeah.
So you said it yesterday, everything in work order management stems from service categories. They're mission critical, right? Over an event scheduler, we have event categories. They're super for classifying events and filtering. And work order management, they're critical. You have to have them. Everything's classified by service categories. So we give you, when you have a new work order management account, we give you about 8 to get you started, but you're going to want to build on those. There's going to be areas you want to classify your work that are specific to you and the way your operations run. You might want a painting service category. You might want, a hospitality service category. There's a graphics design service category I have in my account because I've set this up for communication requests. You may want a housekeeping service category, things like that. So anywhere you want work classified, you want to make sure that you create service categories for those. I always tell new customers, this is something you should set up first because everything else you construct in work order management largely has to be attached to a service category. Even if you think you may not need it, it's better to have it and not need it. And then when you're in the middle of creating a piece of equipment or a vendor relationship and you don't have the service category that you need to attach them to, you have to go back all the way out and create those service categories. So some things about service categories. Some of them are part of departments, those groups of people, because when you set up departments, they are connected to service categories. You see this column called user-defined fields. You can set custom fields to collect specific information for service categories, meaning if you create a work order in the HR onboarding service category, you may have to answer some questions like what department is the new employee working in? What is the new employee name? What is the new employee's start date? So maybe we want to collect some specific information to include with this work order. Communications request, who's paying for it? What's the budget charge code? Do you need graphics? Do you need a web package? Things like that. So you can create some user-defined fields and collect really specific information, again, that are tied to service categories. Moving right into departments. These are the groups of people. If you want to assign a work order to a group of people, your facilities team, your hospitality team, your HR department, you have a group of people, one or more people constitutes a group. You can, ideally it would be 2 because it wouldn't be a group, it'd be a group of 1, right, Nathan?
That's right.
You only have 1. So you want to add a couple members to your departments. And when you add a new department, you're just going to give it a name. And then again, you're going to associate all the service categories that are relevant to that group of people. That's going to mean that if you created a group for cleaning or repair needs, custodial, anytime a work order is created with one of these service categories, it will be able to be assigned to that department. So that's step 1 for using departments. Step 2 is adding the people to the groups. And we'll jump 1 step down to users and cover that part. So on your user dashboard, now, by the way, if you have event scheduler and work order management, your users will cross over to each account, but they're not automatically going to have access. If you have, if you're adding work order management and you already have event scheduler, your users are going to filter over, but they're going to be flagged with no access. So you'll have to go in and give them the proper access. We don't assume that an admin and event scheduler is going to be an admin in work order and asset management, for example. So the way I'm just going to use my profile here, green box with the pencil is going to let you edit user permissions. And the way that you add user permissions is on obviously the user page and give the appropriate access. And then this is how you add the users to departments. And then service categories is how you select the appropriate service categories they need to be attached to. Some important things about this: if you are assigning a work order, if you've selected a service category and you've created a work order, or you're assigning a work order and the person that you need to assign it to is not available in the dropdown, that's because they probably are not attached to the appropriate service category. So for example, if I toggle off communications requests for my user permission, I cannot have a work order assigned to me in the communications request service category. Same thing for departments. If custodial is toggled off for me, I'm not going to be included in that group, or I'm not going to have, if that department custodial is selected, I'm not going to be included. I won't see that on my dashboard. Another thing to know about this, if I'm included in the custodial group, but I do not have the custodial service category turned on, I'm going to show up. That custodial group is going to be assigned, but I'm not going to be part of the group to have it assigned to. So both of those need to be turned on. All right. Spaces are pretty simple. There's not a lot of custom features for spaces like there are for event scheduler. Whenever there's custom features earlier today. So in work order management, you do have the spaces exactly like you see them in event scheduler. They're arranged in the exact same way. If you move one, if you use drag and drop spaces and rearrange your spaces in one module, it will affect them in the other if you're using both modules. That's a pro tip. But the neat thing about spaces in work order management is you can use what we call space properties. So space properties allow you to put specific information in about each of your rooms, and it allows you to keep track of it. It allows you to export information. If you need to replace next year, let's see here, all of this baseboard, and you want to know the room dimensions, how much baseboard, how many linear feet of that baseboard you're going to have to replace. You can export all of your space information out and then calculate how many feet of this specific baseboard you're going to have to replace. So got a lot of space properties built in. I'm going to show you where to add these to your spaces, but the other place that these show up is floor plan. So when you access a floor plan, you hover over a space, you're going to see all this great information about the space. Let's go back out.
And
Need to stop
remember,
for questions, Nathan.
we've been answering them live. I think as we go, and all this work, I know it seems like a lot of work. Don't try to do everything at once. Pick a few spaces to start if you're putting this in. Once it's in and in there, it's in the system. It's always there for you to access. So build the system out. You can use it very simply to start. You can always add complexity. So don't be overwhelmed. Just take a section of rooms at a time and just get those done and done right, and then keep moving on.
Yeah, if you were with me earlier for event scheduler, I prioritize must do, should do, nice to do. Get those must do things built in your system first, and the should do's, then do the nice to do's. So whatever's mission critical to get you creating work orders and get your staff creating work orders. Get those things done first, and then go back and play with space properties and things and add those. Equipment, this is a big one. So with equipment, you're going to be able to track the work order history. How does that happen? So again, anytime you add a piece of equipment to a work order or create a work order for a piece of equipment, it's going to track that history right with that. So I'm going to grab this auto scrubber here. I'm going to click view details, and it's going to give me a lot of information about this piece of equipment. If you are in the ultimate subscription tier or enterprise, you're going to have Asset Pro. Asset Pro, remember, is our barcoding feature. You're going to be able to generate barcode labels for your equipment and inventory. And then you can enter all the other information that you need to help support the functionality of this piece of equipment. The other thing you can do is add inventory groups. This is how you're going to be able to group together the supplies that you need to make this piece of equipment function. So you know exactly what you need, what goes with that piece of equipment. Down below, you're going to see work order history. Every time the cleaning pad was changed, on this piece of equipment or every time it was used to clean the floors. This looks like it was a PM request. And the way I can tell that is if I zip over here to the side, this far column says PM ? And the green check lets me know, yes, it was part of preventive maintenance. The X tells me no, it is not. If you have a piece of equipment where you see a lot of red X's over here, that's probably going to tell you there's been a lot of repair on that equipment lately.
Hopefully it's because they're using it.
That's right.
It's a sit down right on. Everybody's fighting to use it.
We had one of these in my old job. I got to go on it once.
I always
Create
told my team if they cleaned and I checked it and found no dirt, that I would buy them one. So I never bought them one.
Create work order for this piece of equipment. If I just tap that button, it takes me right into a work order. The beauty of this is that piece of equipment is already going to be attached right to this work order. It lets me know at the top that I'm creating a work order for the specific piece of equipment. So very easy. Let's jump back.
Real quick, Christy asked a question. So if you have each of your individual HVAC units listed as equipment, you can obviously add the filters there and what each unit does. If you don't want to take up all your equipment options with HVAC units, you can always do just a singular HVAC equipment as a piece, as equipment, HVAC units, and then you just add a document to your document library that has the current filter list, filter needs, and Excel or Word doc or something, so that you could see it there, so you could have that information available. You could also add it to your inventory, the different types of filters and what equipment they go to. So those are 3 different ways you can do that.
Yes, I was looking, one of my rooftop units had some documentation. That's not it. That is one of the attachments. You can attach a lot of documents to your each individual piece of equipment. That coffee maker, that Bun Titan dual brewer I was using earlier, have a lot of information on that one. I got a photo of it. And then again, if you were with me yesterday for the user training, this is where you put your attachments in with the equipment. If you need a quick access to that warranty information, you can upload that and have it right there as part of your piece of equipment, and all that information is right there at your fingertips, and you don't have to worry about rummaging through a file cabinet. It's there and it's easily accessible. Not only is it attached to the equipment, but whenever that piece of equipment is added to a work order, those documentation items are included with the work order that the equipment is attached to. So it's all interconnected. Vendor relationships. So if you have external vendors that you would like to add to eSPACE to allow them access to work order and asset management, you can give them access. What happens is when you add an external vendor, the first thing you have to do is search, because we have a global database with vendors, and they might already be included in the system. So when you search for a vendor, I'm just going to search the Home Depot here, because I know we have some vendors called the Home Depot listed in the system. So they may already be listed. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when you search a vendor and they're not listed, or they're already listed in there. You might want to go in and add your own contact. Maybe you do use this store in Jacksonville, Florida, but maybe you want to go in and add a contact or view the contacts. You can do that. If the vendor that you need is not listed, you can take a next step and add a new external vendor. You enter the vendor's name and the address if you have that, but then you're going to attach them to all the service categories that they need. If it's a plumber, obviously you're down to just maybe the plumbing service category, maybe restroom care. But if it's someone that has more broad, like your landscaping, they may need to be added to grounds or parking lot maintenance, just several other service categories. You always want to make sure that you connect them to the service categories, because if they are not attached to the service categories, what happens, Nathan?
You're not attached to the service core, you ain't gonna see it.
You're not going to be able to add them to a work order. That's right.
You're like, how, and then you'll contact support and you say, how come I can't add my vendor to the work order? And we're gonna look in your account and we're gonna very nicely and graciously email back and say, if you would like to add them to a work order, you need to assign them to the service categories they can perform work for.
That's right. So vendor contacts. So I have these conversations a lot about external vendors because you can add external vendors. You can add the company name, you can add the address for the vendor up to that point until you add a contact with some contact information. That vendor, as it pertains to anything external, kind of doesn't happen. You need to keep, they will be maintained right in work order management. Sorry, I'm losing my words. It's late in the day. But when you add an external vendor contact, I'm going to use Nate's Painting Pros here, and I'm going to pull up external vendor contacts. I want to show you some things. So you add a contact at the company. So it lets you know in this blue bar that you're adding a contact for Nate's Painting Pros. And when you add that external vendor, you're going to add their first, last name, phone number. And then if you do not want them getting notifications from eSPACE, you're going to leave their email off of this and click save. If you want them to receive a welcome email from us on your behalf, you're going to go ahead and enter their email address and click save. I always tell new users it's really helpful if you have a conversation with this vendor before this happens, so they don't throw that email away, flag it as spam, things like that, and they know exactly what it is. The great thing about this, there's a lot of notes right here at the top to help you through this process. You can even see what the portal looks like. You can even preview the email that they're going to receive. It's going to look just like this. It's going to let them know where the email is coming from. It's going to welcome them as a vendor. They're going to have a link to log in and a temporary password. And they're even going to have your name to contact with questions, not mine.
Yeah.
So this is what you would do if you want to actually assign the work orders to a vendor. Lots of people have local plumbers, local painters, landscaping company. They assign those work orders directly to those vendors. The vendors log into the portal. They get a notification saying they've received the work order. They click accept or decline, and then they mark the work complete when it's done. There's knowledge-based articles about the external vendor system too, by the way. Everything we're talking about today, I always tell new customers with us, if you need to look up any of the things we're talking about, you can copy and paste right into the knowledge base, into the search field, and there are tons of articles. They are updated almost daily by our customer stewardship team. Any questions I need to talk about, Nathan, before I move into advanced settings?
So Audrey asked, how can we retain a vendor email without sending an email to them? Put it in the position, put it in the notes. Just don't put it in the email field is the easiest one.
Yeah, you can put it in their name field, anywhere like that. If you want to create a little bit of an address book, just don't put it in the email field because that's an automatic, that generates an automatic email to them. Okay, I'm just look at a few critical elements of general settings. I'm not going to go through every one, but a couple that are important in your process. When you're creating work orders, when you hit this button up here, add work order, this orange button, that's your internal request. If you want to display all of your spaces, I highly recommend it because it's always helpful if you know where the work needs to be performed. You're going to toggle this button on right here. It says display spaces on work order request form. If you want to require that when they're submitting a work order request, you want to ensure that no matter what they select a space, you're going to jump down to this section, work order creation, and you're going to toggle on require a space when creating a work order. That will not let them submit the work order without a space being selected first. Don't allow searching for public work orders on the public page. Kim showed you public work order requests a while ago in our session right before this one. There's a little button at the top that allows people to track the status of their work orders. If you don't want them to do that, you can just turn this off or turn this on to turn it off. So toggle that button on to disallow that. You can set your warranty date to be a specific number of days if you want to know when it's getting ready to expire. And then the requested completion date, that's also a big part of the work order. That's going to tell you when things, when you hope to have those done or deliverable dates, things like that. There's lots of flexibility you have There is a requirement you can set for the internal forms for your portal users. You can also hide it for both of those. You can leave it as is. It'll default to the date the work order is created. My personal favorite, you can automatically set it to a number of days in the future. So it's automatically populated. Mine is set for 7 days in the future. So every time a work order is created in my account, the requested completion date is automatically 7 days in the future. Those can be adjusted. I showed you guys yesterday how you can use the drag and drop feature on the calendar too, if you need to move those around and rearrange your work and reprioritize it. Let's see here. If you're using inventory and you want to hide your quantity on hand, your costs, things like that, for those that have user access, you can do that. And then you can hide the items with no current inventory. If you don't have inventory on hand, you probably don't want it added to a work order if you don't have it. Or if you don't want it requested with your inventory requests. I can't request something that's not there, right?
Right.
Okay, this one. I want to talk about this button really quick. Default require approval after completion for work orders. So when you create a work order, there's a toggle button at the bottom that says require approval. What this is a last look at the work order. Let me back out and show you real quick. Let's just grab a random work order here. Let's just grab work order 484. At the very bottom, this button is turned on, require approval after completion. So when this work order is marked complete by the person performing the work, it's going to move to that area I showed you yesterday, awaiting final approval or awaiting review, work order pending review, I think is what it says. And for the admin, it's going to move into a section on their dashboard to let them know they need to give it a last look, all completed work to be reviewed, and they're going to be able to close that out. That setting in your advanced settings and under general and work order creation is that default to have that toggle button turned on for every time that a work order is created. Automatically complete work order upon completion of final task. If you have a whole group of tasks within your work order and you want to mark the work order complete at the end of that final task, you can do that. Now I talked about cost and time tracking a little bit. If you want to require total completed hours for task and cost items, Nathan hit on this yesterday. You can assign an estimated completion time to every single task if you want. If you do, and this toggle button is turned on, that means if those specific tasks with time, estimated time already assigned to them, are included in that work order, then each task is marked complete and each time, actual time, has to be recorded with each and every individual task. If you don't want to get that granular with it, you can actually record the hours of the total work order completion, even if there aren't task or cost items included. So if you turn this button on, it's going to allow someone to mark the work order complete. They get a pop-up that says, hey, how long did it take you to do this? They put it in really quick and they're done. Click save here, jump out. I want to talk about a couple. I know we're running slim on time, Nathan. Is there anything I need to address really quick before we get into some routing rules? And I want to look at a couple other things.
No, I just want to remind people between our Facebook group and the webinars that we run consistently, and you get kind of the first look at the upcoming webinars, either through smartchurchsolutions.com or on the Facebook group. A lot of times we have trainings and advanced sessions and deeper dives. Don't forget that, and then don't forget the knowledge base.
Right. Yes.
Just type in, if you have a question, inventory, just type in inventory. It's going to pull up everything that has inventory in it or talks about inventory.
Mm-hmm.
I still sometimes, and I probably should admit it, but it's going to be recorded and shared everywhere. I sometimes look at those articles when people ask me a question about the system, because it's constantly being added to and updated and just made more robust. So what was true 3, 5, 7, 9 years ago is not true today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, take advantage of those.
Yeah. I want to hit routing rules really quick, because I know we had some questions about automation and automatic assignments of work orders. So I want to hit that real quick before I turn it over to you to cover preventive maintenance, Nathan.
Okay.
So when you have work order, so service categories, right? We've already talked about how everything flows from service categories. So when a work order is created, and you want that automatically assigned to someone, you know, this person is on point, they're going to take care of it no matter what, or this group of people or this vendor, you know, they've got it covered. You can create routing rules. It's going to make your life a little bit easier. It's not going to hit that new work order section of your dashboard. You won't have to worry about assigning it. It's an auto assign feature. So if I go back out, let's look at this one for painting. So I have this one just called painting jobs. It's a routing rule. You can name it whatever you want. Nobody else is going to see it but you. And then you can add one campus. You can make this a rule for all of your campuses. Totally up to you. You're going to activate it to make it live. Why is there an activate button and why would you turn it off? Well, if you have this assigned to an external vendor, that external vendor may take a vacation and they don't want work orders automatically assigned to them while they're gone. So you could just turn it off for a week if you needed to, or two. And then you're going to select any and all service categories this routing rule would apply to. Now for this one, I only have painting, but you could assign this to more than one service category. Okay, so that would mean anytime a work order is created for painting, it's going to automatically get routed to Nathan or Nate's Painting Pros. Nathan is my son and he's a painter. It's not Nathan Parr.
Yeah.
So, and then you can also set it to be assigned to an internal user or to a department if one exists for painting. So I have volunteers, carpentry, or facilities team for that service category, but you can assign more than one if you want to do that. So these are going to help with your automation. I've heard some facility managers have 100% of their work orders assigned out via routing rules. I've heard some people say they only have a couple of them and it's helpful, but that's going to largely help you get those automatically assigned to where they need to go.
Yeah, and the routing rules are very efficient if you've included like your IT support, if you have it, or AVL support or something like that, that is done by a specific person, specific group of people all the time. You know, as a facility manager or operations team or whatever, that your team's not going to do the software update. Those are the things you automatically should have a routing rule for, because you don't, it doesn't need to be on your plate, right? You know, you have enough groceries to carry. You don't need to carry everybody else's. So route it so that it already goes.
I like that. You have enough groceries to carry. You don't need to carry everybody else's. With that, Nathan, I want to make sure we have time to cover preventive maintenance.
Okay.
So I'm going to hand it over to you. And if we have time, we'll circle back to a couple things. But I want to make sure we cover that. So I'm going to, I did it again. I always do that. Stop share.
I'll share. It's all right. And I'm not going to share. I'm just going to talk about it because I kind of shared and covered it yesterday. Hopefully y'all saw that. But again, when we say planned or preventative maintenance, obviously we're not going to put a whole bunch of verbiage on there because we'd like to keep it lean. But again, this is any task that you know has to occur more than once. So I always explain it as you got two types of work orders. You have a find it and fix it, and you have something that's planned. That's it. That's the only thing that you're going to have. So think real quick with me, and just off the top of your head, think, what's something that you have to do every month or every week or every year or every quarter? Y'all have something in mind right now, hopefully, right? There you go. Change water cooler filters, backflow preventer inspections, re-upping insurance for you, executive roles, some of the folks that have their tag renewal. Yeah, anything that you know has to come up. And because we don't limit how far out you plan stuff. Cody, sleep. Yeah, that ain't coming. We didn't approve that. Anyway, you can set up the next due date, 3 years down the road, 2 years. So if you're using it, you've got a aggregate company that you use to get the best utility rates. But you have the option of renegotiating at year 3. Set up a preventative maintenance that at year 3 tells you, contact this person to renegotiate your deal. Keep that in mind. And that's the biggest thing about planned preventative maintenance. And it's more planned, but we're planning preventative, or we're planning for maintenance. But ultimately what we're doing, remember, I can show you, I'm up at re-upping and consolidating all our benchmarking and doing that again to update to newer numbers. What's consistent from the first time we did it to this one is nobody is overstaffed and nobody has too much time on their hands. So what can you take off of your mind? What can you remove from your brain housing group, like we used to call it in the military? What can you remove from your brain housing group so it's not rattling around and messing with you? And let the system take care of reminding you, of sending it out. And when you create that planned maintenance, that planned work, you can pre-assign it to a user, to a department, to an external vendor, wherever it needs to go to. You can have it pre-assigned, and then you can set up emails to come out to remind you every. That's it. Hey, Sue, the Army. That's right. The Army is better at doing it wrong. Semper Fi. Sorry. But yeah, think about that. That's the biggest thing I want to talk about planned and preventative maintenance, is that it's there to take the burden off of you. So if you can reduce the amount of time, effort, and energy by 15% by automating as much as you can, what would that mean for you today? Think of that. That's why we take advantage of the planned maintenance part of there.
I think that's what we call a mic drop.
Yeah, that's it. So
Love it. Love it. Yeah. Well, we have actually no questions, Nathan. So I may I don't have anything else. The only other thing I could cover really quick that I didn't, and I briefly touched on this, was those user-defined fields. If you need to capture specific information, I just want to show you that really quick, and we'll let you guys go and take a reset before we close out for the day. Under advanced settings, user-defined fields, you can create these and you can add them to specific service categories. So what it's going to do is when you create a category or create a work order, excuse me, and you select a specific service category for this, these particular ones, I have this set to communications request and graphics design. Again, not maintenance issues. They're a little bit out of the box, but they are set to capture specific information. That means whenever someone creates a work order, selects these two service categories, either one of them for the work order, they're going to have some fields where the user can complete some information and deliver that. Same thing with HR onboarding. There's one for vehicle management I created for a customer. They wanted to know how to tie this into an event request. They had their vehicles in as resources for requests, but they also wanted to tie that into work orders. So they could create work orders to go right with their vehicles, because they were using both Event Scheduler and they were at the level of work order management where they have Vehicle Pro too. So we tied that together to make it work for them. And then, you know, if you have Vehicle Pro, again, you can add different user-defined fields and attach it to service categories. Your HVAC, if you want to capture the tonnage for the different HVAC units that you're adding, you can do that too. So those are fields that you can actually complete. You can make them required or not. You can even build drop downs, kind of like building those internal forms. You do have those in work order management, but user-defined fields are more included within the work orders and the specific pieces of equipment. So just wanted to touch on those really quick. And I think we're done, unless there's any other questions we can answer live, Nathan, before we close out.
I think we've got them going. Kevin did ask, is there a way to get reminders for mileage in vehicles? Actually, the Vehicle Pro module, which is a module, yes, has that. And so if you're not familiar about that, hit up on the website to get a demo.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be glad to work with you on a demo.
Mhm.
Asset Pro and Vehicle Pro are both included with the Ultimate. So if you're subscribed at the Ultimate subscription tier, you automatically get those with your account. So.
Yep. And with the tiers and things like that, people always ask, well, how do I sell it, or how do I talk to it about, or to my the money people, okay, administration, business people. When you consider the cost of onboarding a new employee, even at say minimum wage, wherever you're at, the cost of the complete offering of everything we offer is less than a minimum wage employee per year.
Yep.
And it can do the role of 1 to 1.5 employees when you consider what the platform can accomplish with automations between event scheduler and workwear and asset management.
Yep.
That's how you sell it. You put it in real dollar figures. How much, if you can solve miscommunication, poor communication, if you can take away 20%, that's money. It's
Yeah.
$22 per person per hour. That's a
Yep.
lot.
It is. I think I read somewhere, Nathan, that it could cost up to, I think it was like $40,000 to replace a $67,000 per year employee. That was also a very staggering statistic. So when you think about it from that lens, it's
Yeah.
a very practical solution.
Yeah, this is a way by upping and taking advantage of what the platform offers down the road. That's how you frame it. That's how I would suggest framing it to that, because they're probably not going to give you another staff member.
Yep. Okay, we gotta go. So we can let Kim and Ben, they actually have there's one more session. I think I said close it out, but for now, we're gonna say goodbye to Nathan and your hats.
Yep. See y'all.